Okay, gang, I got 5 comic runs that I read that made me a fan of these characters. Welcome in. This is John from John's Comics with Friends. You're in the right place. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Let's talk a little bit about books that made us fans of characters. Shout out to JP Budget Collecting. He did a video on this that kind of got me thinking about books that made me a fan of a character that I wasn't a fan of before. And we're really looking at maybe the last 10, 15 years, something that's newer because as an adult, I found a joy for these characters that I didn't have prior in my early days of collecting comic books. So I've got five, three DC and two Marvel books that won me over on these characters. And I've got to kick this whole thing off with Jeff Johns. And of course, I was not a Green Lantern fanboy. I did not know much about this universe. I saw him coming in and out of Justice League and things like that. But this was really the run that made me care about these characters and got me hyped for these stories and these universes. So this was a big deal for me. I now have all the omnis. I got a bunch of the keys. I'm going back and getting early appearances from the Silver Age, but it's all owed to reading this as an adult, right? In the last, say, 10 years, I found this run. If you've never read it, obviously it's a lot. There's three massive omnibus and several big event stories and things that took place in this era. But I think what Jeff Johns does really well is he takes this epic history, right? All these characters and kind of synthesizes it down and then really like streamlines that story. Secret Origin is a great starting point. If you find that trade paperback somewhere, I highly recommend it. Or if you have the DC app, you could probably just chronologically roll all the way through Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. But I highly recommend it. The next one's a little odd because I promise you, very few of you have read Jason Aaron's Black Panther. And you might be like, Jason Aaron did a run on Black Panther. He did 3 issues. I will say I liked the character of Black Panther, and T'Challa was interesting when I would see him pop up in Avengers and things like that. But somewhere in the early 2000s, my LCS owner said, "Hey, have you read the 3 issues of Black Panther that Jason Aaron did? It's called See Wakanda and Die. It's a tie-in of all things to Secret Invasion." And this was my first time really getting a sense of Wakanda and that culture. It made me want to go back and start reading all of the Reginald Hudlin run, which leads right into this, and then into the Shuri storyline. It made me want to connect into a lot of other runs and the early Kirby stuff. So it was really a big hit for me. And I liked obviously it included Storm, which was a big hit for me. But these 3 issues really won me over and gave me a chance to get hyped on what this all could really be. And that was a big key for me. Next up is the most recent one, and that would be Kelly Thompson's Birds of Prey. This cover doesn't necessarily capture the art on the interior of these books, but it did hype me on these characters. I knew a little bit about all of them, but I had never really read anything from the Birds of Prey line. This was all very kind of new and foreign to me. I like Big Barda a ton. Cassandra Cain's so great, and of course, our Bird of Prey herself, Diana Lance. I liked all these characters or Dinah separately, but I had never really read a Birds of Prey book. And then this run came along. It got me hyped. I went and read some stuff with JP from the original run. And now I'm collecting keys and I'm in, right? I'm into all of it. So this was definitely a run that I think is easy on new readers. If you have not read any Birds of Prey, give it a shot. I know it's wrapping up here soon, so you can collect the whole thing if you want. Of course, this next one might be a little shocking to some people because I am a Marvel guy, but I never really was a Hulk fan. I would read issues of him in the Avengers, or I read certain events like Planet Hulk and things like that, and they were enjoyable, but I never was excited to then go pick up Hulk comic books. It was always like a one off or an event or something like that. But reading Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk and what Joe Bennett does on, I think these gentlemen really crafted, I mean, a really engaging story that gave an interesting overview to the Hulk mythology. This book is, of course, classic now. Everybody can talk all about how much they love these books and the massive omnibus that I have that is so fantastic that captures all of it. It's worth your time. But for me at the moment, this made me want to then follow along with the current run that they're doing right now, that Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing, that Nick Klein is doing the artwork for. That in this run encouraged me to pick up more Hulk books. And I didn't think I was a Hulk fan, right? So that huge props to that book, right? And then lastly, towards the beginning of my YouTube time, I read Death, The High Cost of Living, and I had never read a Sandman book, never really read a ton of Neil Gaiman. And this got me hyped. This was a sort of mini series inside of the main Sandman storyline where we get to meet his sister Death and kind of get a sense of their relationship. My friend Whitewell Comics recommended this, and we read it for book club one week, and it was great. I really was impressed by it. The artwork, the characterizations, and the philosophy that was sort of flowing out of the pages. This ultimately is what encouraged me to then grab the 3 omnibus set of Sandman by Neil Gaiman. And I've now read 2 of the 3 volumes, and they're absolutely incredible. I'm sorry that he is not worthy of the quality of the artwork he was making, but this definitely got me hooked on that universe and made me want to read more. And that's what we're talking about. So there you go. There are 5 comics that made me a fan, something that happened in my adult life that connected me to a portion of the big 2 that I didn't really know before. Let me know, are there things you've read in, say, the last 15 or 20 years that made you a fan, right? Made you interested in reading more from these characters or even hunting down keys with those characters? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Huge thank you to my channel members, those people that hit the join button and contribute to help keep the StreamYard lights on. They're also entered to win prizes, and they are given early access to these videos when I make them each week. So a huge thank you to these folks for taking that extra step. And thank you for being here, hitting the like button, hopefully subscribing, and catching up on more fun comic book talk. You can guarantee that that's what's going on around here every week. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and I'll see you again soon.